Today, the Supreme Court heard arguments about whether the ownership of TikTok needs to change because of national security reasons. Many of you know my position on this issue. I think there's a lot of great creativity on TikTok. I also think I know people make their living as social influencers. I think that's great. But I've been concerned literally for years that because TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese firm, and every company based upon Chinese law has to be first and foremost loyal to the Communist Party of China, not to their shareholders or customers, that TikTok has posed a national security concern. The overwhelming majority of Congress agrees with this, 80%. It's tough to get 80% of the Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate to agree on anything, but they agreed that this was a national security concern. And this law would not require TikTok necessarily to be shut down, just to have that ownership share sold to a non-Chinese entity. It could be sold to an American company, it could be sold to a British, a French, a Brazilian company, but something that is not, at the end of the day, controlled by the Communist Party of China, where they could both collect data from Americans, and with 160 million Americans, many of them young folks, many of them getting their news from TikTok, the ability to collect data and also to be used as a propaganda tool is a huge national security concern. Again, why this bill passed so overwhelmingly. Let me quickly also add that this is not just an American concern. Nations like India, Indonesia have prohibited TikTok. Even Russia has penalized TikTok recently. The British, the Europeans, the Australians, the Canadians have restricted the use of TikTok on their government phones. If the whole world realizes that this creative application but has national security concerns, I hope America will not walk away from this law. The irony is, of course, that former President Trump was the first person to bring this issue to the nation's attention back in his first term. He has a slightly different view now, but the national security concerns still remain paramount, and it appears, we'll have to wait for the Supreme Court's ruling, that this law will be upheld. End of the day, I hope that will force a transaction and that people can still enjoy TikTok, but that we can also get rid of this national security issue.